In today's video, we're going to be looking at the newly released Gold Phantom by Wim and Profalgo Limited. So this was a really exciting development, and as soon as it came out, a bunch of my clients were actually messaging me because Wim is the godfather of EA development. He's been in this industry for I think decades essentially, and he really knows his stuff. And this is a other gold trading breakout strategy, likely with a bit of differences, but also similarities to some of his existing really popular and really successful gold bots like the Gold Reaper. Therefore, I was really excited to dive in and see how this one differs, and most likely there's going to be a bit of a significant buzz in the algo trading community because of this. So I know that, for instance, some of my customers have already bought it, so I can imagine that there's quite a bit of interest for it. So Wim is really the master of breakout style systems. Like, he's developed loads and loads of bots which are based on pretty much supply and demand of support and resistance zones, and many of these bots trade breakouts of said zones. And quite often what I've seen, there's a bunch of different orders stacked at key levels, and he has his own proprietary strategy and algorithm behind how he chooses those levels and the order management side of those actual positions. But it's really just a take on support and resistance, supply and demand zones, which is more or less the fundamental strategy behind it. And he is very open about that too, saying that breakout of key support and resistance levels is indeed the strategy being traded here. What I've seen personally is that this is one of the best ways to actually trade gold. Gold, Bitcoin, any sort of extremely volatile asset does really well with breakout systems. So that generally means that this is probably a good approach to be taking here. And if we dive a little bit more into detail here, he says that each position is using a fixed stop loss and take profit. So each one also has a trailing stop loss and trailing take profit. And I have found that this approach works really well with gold too, just because you can then really sometimes have these big runners and get these very high risk reward trades. So all in all, from what I'm seeing here, there's a lot of similarities to the Gold Reaper. But if you kind of scroll down here a little bit, he says that the correlation between the Gold Phantom and the Gold Reaper and the actual strategies behind it are quite different. So I think similar to many of Wim's bots, there's quite a few different strategies. His other bots are embedded into this one. So you get kind of a diversified portfolio within one bot just because he stacks so many strategies into it. So here he says what makes Gold Phantom special. So he's saying that 9 brand new independent trading strategies, and 3 of them are available for the ultimate breakout system too. Also, they're spread across time frames, some on H1, H4, and the daily time frames. I also like using H1 and H4 breakouts. My Bitcoin bot runs on that. So it's usually a pretty good time frame to base breakout systems on, because it's frequent enough that you're going to still have a fair amount of trades, but not too frequent that you have just a ton of little movements with not enough momentum or volatility behind them. He says that it works with any MT4, MT5 broker, and he says that the actual performance and live backtest performance is comparable to the Gold Reaper. So most likely there is some overlap between the two. Frankly, if you make gold breakout strategies, there's always going to be an element of overlap in terms of what regimes they do well in, right? When gold's trending up or gold's trending down, breakout systems will generally do quite well. And because we're currently in a market where gold is just so strongly pushing upward, likely this style of breakout system will do and would have done very well. The main kind of difference here is what makes it significantly different than Gold Reaper. Most likely it's just all the parameters are quite different. So perhaps his triggers are different, or his filters are different, or he's using different styles of trade management. So the thing is you can make a gajillion different iterations on a breakout system. So most likely just the iterations of breakouts in this particular bot vary sizably from his prior ones. So it would be if you were to buy this, you simply would have to run portfolio backtests, if you're going to run it with the Gold Reaper, for instance, and see where is the overlap. Is there a lot of correlation? He says there isn't, and I believe him, but it's good just to check, because then you know how much you want to risk per trade. Because let's say you have 6 bots which are reasonably correlated. If they all take the same trade, you could be in a nasty situation if it loses. You could be euphoric if it wins, but you could definitely be in a nasty situation if it loses. Therefore, being able to kind of be cognizant of that and make sure that you're spreading your risk across strategies which may be correlated is something which you need to be mindful of. Like for instance, I run quite a few breakout bots on the US 30, and if I know that two bots take the same trade, I'll just split the risk in two. So it's not that you can't run them together, you just have to be mindful of that and be mindful of your total max exposure to losses at any given time. So here we're seeing a bunch of different filters, and we have news filters, we have GMT offsets, so there could be a time-based breakout in here because of that. He has some risk management things which enables you to set the lot size based on a few different factors. So overall looks really, really solid. Let's click through some of these back tests. Looking good. He has a nice little strategy kind of or live signal here on a MyFX. You probably want to check his MyFX, but I'm going to trust him because he's a very honest guy. So most likely we can find these all here. We can see that he's split them across different signals to show that some of them perform better on different levels. And this makes sense too. Like having a daily breakout, an H4 and an H1, they all work. So yep, very logical. So overall it's looking really, really solid. So I ran a backtest here in Vantage, and as we can see in the classic WIM style, there's many orders at key levels, and we are trading breaks of said levels. Here we can see that sometimes it also loses, obviously. Like this would have been a false breakout where it rapidly bounced, but when it wins, we can have these major, major runners. There's also obviously like different trading management styles. So some, for instance, hold for a very long time. Some will exit pretty quickly. Here as well too, we can see the exact same thing. There's lots of orders stacked at different levels, and it's also a good bidirectional strategy. So one thing to note is that the win rate actually for his shorts is higher than his win rate on the longs, and that's actually a really good sign because it means he's not just overfitting massively to the current powerful trend in gold. We're seeing a positive risk reward, and we're seeing a very high win rate. So these statistics are really fantastic, but once again, I would caveat that by gold has been in such a strong trend that many gold bots have almost too good to be true statistics. I think it is true. It's just, it looks so amazing because gold has just been ripping. So when that happens, like a lot of it's much easier to have a high win rate when you're in a super strong trending market. If we go over to the inputs tab, it is indeed matching what he says it's doing in terms of the different filters as well as the lot size, and the fact you're able to turn the different strategies on or off. So overall, it looks like an extremely interesting bot. I'm sure knowing WIM's track record and knowing like I've spoken to dozens of people personally who've had great results with the Gold Reaper, this one is likely just as good, particularly at the current price it's at. Like it's probably a pretty good deal in bot world. And it seems to be following a classic WIM-esque style of trading, except with some slight variances. Just looking at the equity curve here versus more the Gold Reaper, it seems to be a lower drawdown. So I'd venture that maybe he's being a bit less aggressive, or perhaps he's closing positions a bit faster. We're not seeing the same level of dips, so most likely he's being maybe a bit more scalpy. That would be my guess in terms of how he's actually derived the strategies. But overall, everything looks really good. So yes, another fantastic addition to any good portfolio, and I'm sure people will be telling me all about this in the comments and in Discord and Telegram post purchasing, and perhaps I can update the community on that once I hear from purchases of it. But overall, looks really solid as expected, and yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys have experiences with it. Cheers.